But first, in California, a Los Angeles Superior Court judge declared a mistrial in the rape trial of actor Danny Masterson after jurors remained deadlocked. Masterson was charged with forcibly raping 3 women in separate incidents between 2001 and 2003. Law&Crime's Meghann Cuniff was in that California courtroom, and she joins us by phone now. Meghann, thanks so much for joining us. First off, was this decision a surprise to you and many in the courtroom with the judge declaring this a mistrial?
No, it definitely wasn't. I had expected this to be a hung jury just from seeing the case and kind of just looking at the scene in the courtroom and Masterson sitting at the defense table. He's got his family in court. And as you know, a security guard remarked to me today, it was really just a he said, she said case. It was just a matter of the credibility of the victims. And then I think Scientology also played a big unknown in the trial, and it kind of muddied it up for prosecutors. So I think some people really thought that he was going to be convicted, but some people were also very invested in the Scientology aspect, and they know so much about the background of it that me, as kind of a casual observer of the case and as somebody who's seen a lot of trials, I was surprised at frankly how flimsy the case was. And I figured it would be an acquittal or definitely a mistrial because of a hung jury.
Well, do you believe the district attorney will refile charges now in this case?
I'm not sure. I've heard that it's pretty standard practice to do one retrial after a mistrial like this, but the vote count was so overwhelmingly in favor of acquittal. I mean, the 2 to 10 in favor of not guilty on the first charge should be a huge sign. And they were able to get it down to 7 and 5 for the third charge, but that is not a good vote count for prosecutors at all. And the kind of saying is that retrials usually favor prosecutors because they're able to refine their case and they kind of know what the defense is going to do. But I think Phil Cohen said it well when he said he just doesn't see how it's ever going to change on this and how prosecutors are going to be able to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. And then there's the whole idea of it's such a long case and what we do to juries by getting 12 strangers off the street and making them try to sort through this really kind of muddied case that seemed to have some kind of prosecutorial shortcomings here and there.
Well, Meghann, this is very Hollywood. Do you believe his celebrity status had anything to do with the jurors not being able to make a decision?
I'm not sure. I think it would definitely be a consideration. And if anything, I kind of wondered when I was watching the trial that if it would be a benefit for the defense, because they could kind of the jurors might see this as kind of they're just going after a Hollywood celebrity, or the women are upset about not being able to get the romantic date that they wanted. One of them had kind of alluded that to testimony, but there was also really gripping, serious testimony about attacks that seemed, pretty genuine. But it was also, 2 decades ago when he was, in his 20s. He's sitting over there. He looks like a all-American married father. He's got his family there. It just wasn't a good scene for prosecutors in the courtroom, it seemed like.
Well, obviously, this was a very high-profile trial, and you've been covering this. What are your overall thoughts about this case presented by the district attorney's office and also the defense?
I thought it was interesting how focused it seemed to be on Scientology, and I kind of wondered if there wasn't the Scientology aspect of it, would they have brought this case? And the prosecutor said yesterday that they don't think that they could do this case without mentioning Scientology, because even the judge ruled that it was very relevant to 5 areas of the case. But the problem without being able to really give them a concrete idea of what Scientology is or anything like that, it kind of just became a big mystery for the jurors. And some people thought that it almost guaranteed a mistrial. So there was really kind of a reset by Masterson's defense. He had Tom Mesereau defending him originally, and apparently the defense approach was that this was a conspiracy against Scientology, and they were going to really focus on that, whereas Phil Cohen barely even mentioned Scientology outside of just presenting it as a huge distraction by prosecutors. And he really took the defense of, he was careful not to say that the women are just outright liars or bad people. He just presented it as they have their perception of what happened to them has changed over time because of all these factors. And I think he seemed to do a good job of presenting that defense.
Well, Meghann, you did a great job breaking us down with that analysis there. Thank you so much for joining us.